stuck at home in quarantine. 5 o'clock, why not have a drink with me?
Good afternoon, and welcome to this special alfresco edition. Thank you for joining me and having a drink with me. Excited tonight to make a fantastic outdoor blended cocktail. Had a good day today, good Sunday. Made the mistake of getting into a new TV show that I'm kind of addicted to but isn't very good. Definitely chalk it up under the guilty pleasure category. I'm not sure if any of you have seen the show Quantico. But Helen and I yesterday were, flipping around, and we came upon an episode of Criminal Minds. We had made our way all the way through Criminal Minds a couple years ago. Another show that we didn't really like. It's kind of terrible. Like, the writing is pretty bad, but it's engaging enough as like a week-to-week procedural. And anyway, we came across an episode and got kind of hooked, and it turns out it was a two-parter. And after that, I decided that I wanted to find another like FBI-style show. I was flipping around Netflix and came across Quantico. I don't know if you know it. And there's a few seasons of it. I'm about halfway through season 1 now. And like I said, it isn't very good. But it reminds me a lot of actually How to Get Away with Murder. I don't know if you've seen that show, but the way it's all about like interpersonal dynamics, and there's two timelines going on at once that they're jumping back and forth between, and it's kind of like, over dramatic and not really realistic, but it's an interesting show nonetheless, and something that I've been enjoying as my latest guilty pleasure. And other than that, did some crosswords this afternoon, which was fun, with a couple of friends on Zoom. Had a good time with that. We made our way through 3 crosswords. And what else? Oh, I did some steam cleaning of our rug, our carpet, which our dogs stink up with their drool and fur and occasional accidental pee or poops. Not to get too gross about it, but especially when the humidity comes back a little bit, you start to like smell it a little bit more, and it bugs us. And so broke out the steam cleaner and took care of that. Oh, do you see that beautiful sun coming in? Turned out to be quite the nice afternoon. Haven't gotten out with the lawnmower yet, but need to soon. Just looking out over the yard, it's super patchy, and there's some parts that clearly need a good mow. But anyway, today I'm going to extend what we were talking about yesterday being Chartreuse Day, and I'm going to make it Chartreuse Weekend by creating, or by talking about and making a cocktail called La Última Palabra, which, for those of you who know Spanish, means the last word. Última palabra, palabra, word, última, last, but in Spanish. And so it's a take on the classic last word cocktail that we talked about yesterday, featuring the delicious green chartreuse. Only you can probably guess where this is going, which is the name of the drink is in Spanish. It probably uses tequila or mezcal, and indeed that is what we're going to use. And about 2 years ago, Helen and I were in Miami. We took a little vacation. This was about a month after I had surgery on my leg. And so, we went down. It was our first time in Miami, and we stayed at this pretty swanky hotel that had this rooftop bar. And so we basically would spend the whole day just sitting by the pool in this rooftop bar in Miami. It was fantastic. And the bar at the pool, and there had waiters coming around, servers going around serving too, had this drink La Última Palabra. And what it was, it's a blended drink. It's like a blended tequila mezcal version of the last word. I'm like, how great is that? So it was super good. And then when I got home, I'm like, all right, we need to figure out how to recreate this. And like any reasonable person would do, I got out my reference materials, I pulled up an Excel spreadsheet, and I got really nerdy and geeky about how to make a blended cocktail. And there's a few things that you need to keep in mind when you're making a blended cocktail. One of the primary things you need to think about is the water and the dilution. So when you're blending a cocktail, you're going to get a lot more dilution than if you stir or drink it, just from the friction on the ice and the blade going around. It just adds more heat to the environment. So that's an issue. And then you just want to get all of the pieces just right. And so I have this awesome book called Liquid Intelligence. The Art and Science of the Perfect Cocktail. And this gets like really crazy. There's a lot of things I haven't even touched in here just because it has like crazy machinery and gadgets that I haven't yet gotten my hands on. But one of the things it talks about is making a cocktail based on the characteristics of each of the ingredients and getting them in balance in the right way. And so there's even these like awesome tables, I don't know if you can see that, but it lists for different spirits and liqueurs and vermouths and sweeteners what the ethanol is of each substance, what the sweetness level is as a percentage, the titratable acid percentage, and all of these things. And so by firing up a spreadsheet and getting all of my ingredients and figuring all this out, I was able to dial in what I think is a pretty good approximation of this cocktail that we had in Miami. And so we're gonna make it now. So I have my blender here. I'm gonna make a double batch of this. And let's get to it. So the first thing I'm gonna do is measure out my mezcal and tequila. And so I'm gonna use a total of 3 ounces of these spirits. And what I'm gonna do is 2 ounces of the mezcal. And then just because I don't want it too smoky, especially because Helen isn't super keen on the smokiness, I'm gonna use 1 ounce of just regular tequila that has a little bit less smokiness on it. Very nice, very nice. Now I'm gonna take my chartreuse. I'm gonna use 1/2 ounce of chartreuse in this. Should be plenty to give it some nice herbaceousness, hopefully a little bit of green color also. Very, very nice. Then I'm going to take 1 ounce of lime juice. I already have some squeezed lime juice here, freshly squeezed just a moment ago. And then my maraschino liqueur, which I am going to use 1.5 ounces of. This is pretty hefty dosage. But I think it's quite good. It's going to really bring some sweetness to it. And I like a little bit of that maraschino flavor in my cocktails. All right, so like I said, you really need to dial in, and I think where a lot of frozen blended drinks go wrong is that they just don't get the right proportion of ice. Use too much ice, use too little ice, you don't have enough dilution, the right amount of dilution, it doesn't get smooth enough, it doesn't balance out. So when you want to be precise about anything in cooking or whatnot, what do? Well, you weigh it. You use a scale. And so I'm going to use 120 grams of ice for each of my cocktails. So since I'm making a double batch, I'm going to go for 240 grams of ice. And so let's weigh this out. Pair it. All right. So each cube is coming out to about 30 grams. So this is going to come out to 8 ice cubes. Perfect. Love it. All right, so I'm going to put this on my handy dandy Vitamix. Add my ice. And so the other secret, like I said, the heat from the blending can really cause a lot of dilution, which you don't want. And so you want to blend it just till you get to that point where everything is good to go. The ice is nice and blended up. You have a nice, slushy consistency, but not go any farther beyond that than you need to. So let's give it a whirl. Wish me luck. I'm still hearing a little bit of some cubes left in there, so let's give it a couple more whirls. Lovely. So here I have this nice slushy frozen cocktail. And it's going to kind of set up too once you get it in the glass a little bit more. And for each of these, I'm going to just garnish with a 1/2 of a lime wheel. And there we have La Ultima Palabra. delicious blended green chartreuse, lime juice, mezcal, and maraschino liqueur cocktail. Cheers. So refreshing. There's nothing like a nice blended drink to make it feel like summertime. With the sun shining in my eyes and drinking this, it transports me away to a tropical place. It's very nice. Amazing. I'm getting a lot of the maraschino actually liqueur in there. A little bit of the chartreuseness. Not a ton of the smokiness from the mezcal. Maybe I should have went all mezcal and not cut it with some of the normal tequila. But even so, it's quite good. All right. Well, thank you for joining me for this alfresco edition of Drink With Me. And we'll do some gratuitous puppy shots because I don't know if you can see them just over there. But there we have Dixie and Bruce. Ooh, lost you for a second there, but we're back. And that's all I have for tonight. Easing into a nice another Sunday night. Keep going in and out. Last two episodes of... Need to work on my outdoor Wi-Fi. Last two episodes of The Last Dancer on tonight, so I'm going to catch that either live tonight or tomorrow morning on demand. But otherwise, have a good night.
5 o'clock. Why not have a drink with me?
Cheers, everybody.